Testing. What's up, guys? Anybody who's hanging with me? Let this stream populate for a minute, and then we'll get into things. What's going on, Strange Creations? Hope you're doing good, Josh. I just got done training, doing my cardio. What's up, Jake? How's it going, man? Project Bodybuilding. What's going on, brother? I love the work that you're doing, man. Good stuff over there. You guys should definitely check out Project Bodybuilding. He's putting up some good competition content, comparing different guys together that are competing right now and talking about the upcoming shows. So definitely a good channel to follow. Jax has got a question about SLU. Tempting to add it in. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about that today for sure. See, Madden, what's going on, brother? Can't stay. Just wanted to say hi. Good to have you, brother. Lucas, what's up, man? Hope you're doing good, brother. Doing cardio as we speak. I just finished my cardio, man. Just finished my cardio and my back workout. So I'm hopefully not going to go hypo. The game plan is to hang on the live stream for up to an hour, depending on how things go. And then after that, I got to bail. I'm getting ready to record another show after this, but I also have some check-ins today that I need to get to. I usually do my check-ins in the afternoon, so I do podcasting stuff, training, anything else I need to do in the morning. And then after that, get on with all my check-ins in the afternoon. Unless it's a contest prep competitor, then they need their info right away. What's up, Adrian? How's it going, man? Good to have you here. Mike, what's going on, brother? Good to have you joining us, man. And the Real Report. What's up, brother? Where are you at again? Is it like Norway or something like that, I think you said? It's incredible, man, that we can connect to so many people with the internet nowadays. I know that probably makes me sound old, right? But I remember literally as a kid back in the 90s thinking about talking to somebody in Europe just randomly like this was completely unthinkable. So how we doing? We got a few people here. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into this thing. What's up, Eric Bassett? Good to have you here, man. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you and everybody who supports the channel. This is just something I wanted to do that was a little bit different. What's up, Roy? Good to have you, man. Yeah, like I said, all right, so this is something I wanted to do was a little bit different. I said to myself, yes, Real Report is in Norway. I said to myself, a lot of the times what I do with the channel is I shine the light toward other people. I try to shine the light toward all my co-hosts or any of the guests we have. There's a lot of times that I have thoughts and ideas and I have my own answers. I really hold my tongue a lot of the times, unless it's something I know is going to add in a completely unique viewpoint and we're not running behind on time, then I will add stuff in. But more often than not, I try to let everybody else answer the question. So I thought, Dave is away this week. Dave's over in Germany. So I thought we could have some fun here. Anybody who's posting questions now, I am marking them and we'll go back through and knock out all of these. What's up, Zach and Seb over in Sweden? Man, it's crazy to me. People in Sweden, people in Norway, people here in the U.S. Jove, always good to have you, man. Or Yov, I don't know how you say it for sure. What's up, Daniel? So, yeah, I'm going to take any questions that we have here. I see all the Real Report. You've got one. I am going through as you guys comment, and I'm putting a little check mark next to it. Oh, we got a super chat too. Brian Nasser, what's up, man? All right, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the hell out of you, man. This is very cool. I really appreciate you, brother. And thank you for watching all of our stuff, man. Hope you had a good competitive season last year, and I look forward to seeing what you end up doing this year too. So, like I said, I have a list of stuff, and here's the deal. Dave's out of town. So the deal is, Dave is in Japan for like the next 2 weeks. We were going to record 2 episodes back to back, and then I had a house emergency. We literally thought my house was on fire. I don't know if you heard the story on It's Just Bodybuilding or if you were hanging on the stream while we were trying to record it, but we were like 10 minutes in, and all of a sudden Victoria, my wife, comes down. She opens my door and she's like, "Hey, did you see my text?" I'm like, "No, what?" She said, "There's smoke upstairs." I was like, "Oh, crap." So I was like, Dave, I got to go. I'll be back just a minute. And then I had to come back and tell him, listen, man, I got to shut the show down. There's an emergency here, you know, and we thought we were going to have to call the fire department and all that. Turned out to be our furnace. We had a new motor installed and they put the wrong size in. So the thing was overheating and it was going to combust eventually or just break down. But yeah, our house was filled with smoke. It was kind of sketchy there for a minute. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I've been coaching full-time for a decade now, meaning that is my full-time job. A lot of you guys think that, you know, I just do podcasting. I've had people say, like, do you still coach? The coaching, that's really my bread and butter. That's where I make my money. And then from there, you know, I do the channel as a partial income. And really it comes down to this. I've learned a lot over the years from listening to other people. And what I wanted to do was put a channel together that was more than just my voice. You know, you could go to a lot of channels where you get to hear in-depth perspectives from one person, but I feel like, and that's great to get those perspectives, but I feel like to really get a solid education, I want to get multiple perspectives from various people that I trust. And then I can take all those thoughts, see how some of those ideas will overlap between each person, take my own experience, and then it helps me to better form my own ideas. And that's a lot of the way that I had gotten into coaching about 14, 15 years ago now. So the last decade I've been coaching full time. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of times I try to defer a lot of the questions to, you know, my co-hosts and our guests. But I thought, man, 2025, I want to do some live streams and hang out with you guys. Hang out with Dbol here, one of my clients who's doing some absolutely incredible work. And I wanted to give a shout out to another guy that I'm working with, incredible physique. Austin Matford is his name. I texted him to say, hey, can I throw up, and he didn't get back to me, of course. I texted him last minute and say, hey, can I throw up your current picture? So here's the deal. We connected several years back, right? Never competed in his life. And he says, hey, I'd like to do a show. I was like, sure, man. So I help him out, and he does very well, right? And North Americans was 2 weeks after. So he said to me, what do you think about me jumping in North Americans for my second contest ever? And I had already been thinking it myself. It was just a matter of us having the conversation. He ended up doing really well. Here is his stage pictures from North Americans. And now this was, gosh, 4 years ago now, maybe 3-4 years ago. You know, did incredible. After that, you know, he gets his pro card, right? He moves down to Florida, and then he drops off the face of the earth. Like you know, it happens a lot to people that it's hard to stick with bodybuilding long term, especially in the off season, you know, when you don't have something to look forward to, right? So he drops off the face of the earth, and now he's coming back. And we're going to do Tampa Pro is our goal. That's going to be in 6 months from now. Here's the deal. He hasn't been consistent with his training, right? He hasn't really been using any type of supplements. So we're going to take this 6 months. He's decently lean now. I asked him if I could show his current pictures. He didn't get back to me yet because I asked him last minute. But I said, you know, I think we can make some progress and grow into this show. So once he gives me the okay, I'll show you guys what he looks like now. But he's not too far off from this size-wise. Condition isn't bad. I'm confident that considering he's had this long break, we're going to be able to do a lot. Now, how well will he do in the Tampa Pro, assuming he looks at least like this? It's going to be really hard to say. I think he's going to be on the smaller side. But big picture, we're looking at Tampa Pro 2025 and then again in 26. If he stays consistent between now and Tampa 26, he'll have gained some incredible additional size. I think that he will be competitive. I think that Austin has some incredible shape. He just needs to bring up more muscle, and dude can get in condition, as you can see here. He was genuinely, I mean, he was right up there as being like, if not the leanest guy in classic, he's right up there in the whole division at North Americans, not to mention even, you know, he was up there with bodybuilding conditioning. So, you know, the way I see it too as a coach, I don't really diet people differently for classic than I do for bodybuilding at the end of the day. I mean, even men's physique, it's all about, even bikini, It's all about nailing the condition. And then from there, it's how you peak somebody to get the final look that we want. All right. So I see a bunch of questions are coming up here. Can I talk about my experience with addiction? Yeah, if we have time, I would love to get back in and do a whole other segment out about that. And oh man, KS Barry, we lost our home to a fire 4 years ago, right after Christmas. Yeah, dude, I could only imagine how you felt with that. It was incredible. And by the way, thank you to everybody here who is commenting in the stream. This is freaking cool, man. I'm excited to have all you guys here. So where do we want to start? I have a whole list, and there were some things I wanted to talk about first because we did have people that asked questions. We had some people from Patreon. And by the way, if you're hanging with us and you're from Patreon and you have a question, also comment, hey, I'm from Patreon, and let me know. That way I can make sure to give you guys priority. So we had somebody ask on one of the latest episodes what my particular experience was with dosing injectable Dbol versus oral Dbol. Now, here's the thing. There's 100 different ways you can use all of these compounds. So I'm not going to say that my way or the highway. Like, you can figure it out for yourself. I've found in pretty recent times that injectable Dbol can be used as just a one-off pre-workout, and you will get a good effect. You know, even something like, man, I've taken as low as 10, 15 milligrams, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour before training, and I've seen the benefit, maybe doing it 3 times a week. I think you can use it like that. You don't necessarily need to keep your blood levels stable. Now, I will tell you, in the peak of my competitive bodybuilding, when I used injectable Dbol, I used it in place of the oral on training days, meaning I would say take 100 milligrams of Dbol every day for a short period of time. And I'd take 50 in the morning, 50 pre-workout. And then on training days, I'd take 50 in the morning, 50 injectable pre-workout. Now, did I really need that much? Man, you know, 15, 20 years ago, everybody was dosing gear high. We were told that you needed at least 500 tests to even start bodybuilding, you know? And I see so much has changed nowadays. Guys are running a lot less, and we're getting good effects. A lot of my clients have got a lot of moderate doses, especially for non-competitors who just want to get better. But I think you could really do it either way. You know, you could run it in an everyday protocol, just like you would oral. It's going to have the same half-life as oral Dbol. So if your goal was to get your levels up and keep them there stable, you could do that. I kind of feel like it's a lot of shots, you know, if you're going to take it every day. I would still only take it once a day. I wouldn't try to break it down into multiple doses, even though the half-life is pretty short on Dbol, you know, 4 to 6 hours. Maybe it's going to be a little longer with the injectable, but I would generally, if I were to suggest it to anybody today, it would be just in a pre-workout scenario, maybe 3 times a week, something like that. Not as our primary anabolic agent to grow, but as an additional, you know, pre-workout boost for maybe specific body parts, specific workouts that you want to be more intense with. What are the differences? Honestly, I think the main difference is in digestion. I'm one of those people that you put me on an oral steroid anymore, my digestion goes to crap. My appetite just completely goes out the window after a few days. I'm not able to even get the food in. It feels like my throat's closed up. So with the injectable, I do not get that. I can run it long term. So I think there is an element of androgens in your digestive system that does cause irritation, more so than just beyond the liver stress itself. You know, we're still getting the same liver stress with the injectable. It's just missing the liver on the first pass. We're basically putting it right in the bloodstream, but it is going to get processed by the liver. So there is that. All right. Let me see. What else do we have here? Oh, I had a physique critique. So I'm going to try to get back to that guy. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick. And what else do we have going on here? Yeah, Real Report's got the same problem. And what do we have here? Morning Scott saying I reordered SLU along with Cardarine and Clen. Been having good results with SLU at 500 micrograms a day. You know what? Why don't we get into the SLU conversation then? I'm over 2 weeks in now I know a lot of you guys have had way more experience than I have with it. Lucas, who's hanging with us, he's been running it for months now. I know a lot of you guys have listened to, Chase Irons talk about it, and Steve. Steve was the one who told me about it, some time ago. And the reality is, as I've mentioned on other shows, I don't want to just jump into something that's new because I've done that so many times. I've wasted a lot of money. So I would rather wait and hear from a lot of people that I trust and a good section of the public to hear, yeah, this is worthwhile, in order to actually invest the money myself. So that's what I did. And I'm going to tell you firsthand right now, I've gotten a really good effect from this. Now, the first thing I noticed is an increased just like cognitive sharpness. That's out the gate. The first thing that I noticed on 200 micrograms taken in my first dose. I'm taking 400 a day, but I am going to go up, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm curious to hear some of your feedback too. So I've heard we've had some people in the comments have told us that they aren't getting anything from SLU. Guys are like, oh yeah, I pushed the dose way up. I didn't get anything from it at all. The stuff is not worth it. I've heard multiple people say that now. But then I've also heard multiple people say that they really love the stuff. So because of just my experience, based off of what I physically feel from it, I have to think that there might be some fake stuff floating around. I just think that based off of how I'm feeling, there's a definitive note, like I took something, there's no question about it. Now, and so I'm not going to discredit anybody who says they didn't get anything or feel anything from it. But given my experience now, after just a couple going on, I'm in week 3 now, I really have to wonder the quality of the product that they had. So that's one thought that I had about it. Dealing with basically chronic fatigue after having gotten the bug that we don't talk about back in 21. I've dealt with like a lot of mental fog. Thankfully now it's been much better than it was. But that first year, especially like all of 2021, was really difficult for me. I'll tell you though, SLU is totally like reversing that, if not making me feel like I'm at my best. Now, results wise, it's interesting. So I took, I'm on my 3rd week, like I said, with SLU. The first week to the second week, the scale didn't change. The second week into the 3rd week, I haven't, basically my point is 3 weeks in, I'm dieting freaking hard right now. All right, guys, like I've taken my diet from mediocre to 100% clean, cheat meals to an absolute minimum. Once a week, Friday, I might eat like a club sandwich, which is like 600 calories, right? So it's actually going to be, no more than a regular meal would be. But the scale hasn't moved. And I know my body that by now, I'm not on any anabolics, right? I know that my body would generally drop, all right? I've been holding around 215, got down to 212 through dieting, started the SLU, and now the scale is held the same. It has not dropped at all. Yet my progress pictures are improving. I'm not going to show you guys the progress pictures yet, all right? I'm honestly embarrassed, all right? Because I haven't, for the last, since I had gotten sick, I haven't gotten back into great shape. And so that's my freaking goal now. And I'm feeling pretty confident with it. And I think that the SLU is helping me out a lot. So SLU is the rich man's Helios. It depends where you get it. I've seen some high prices, but I can't talk about that stuff on YouTube, but I do have, some places to, get everything legally and all that. You can hit me up on another platform where I can share that type of information. But, I'll leave it at this, that I don't think that it's that poorly priced if you get it from, the right places. Are you not on any bolics, but only test? Yeah. So right now I'm just running like my basic TRT at this point, and I'm thinking about adding a little bit more, but a big part of it is that I want to see how this compound works. And since I'm not seeing any scale weight loss, but I am seeing improvement in the pictures, I'm getting a similar effect right now that I would expect from gear. So I'm good with leaving it as it is. You know, I've got some health stuff too. My lungs don't function as well as they did before I got sick. As a result, my hematocrit is already fairly high. So running gear, I tend to get higher hematocrit. I'm in a better position to keep the gear low, you know. I always feel like there's that thing in our head as bodybuilders where we say like, oh, if I just added this in or I took a little bit more, it would be that much better. But I know for myself that I can cross that threshold where now, you know, it becomes a negative thing and it actually holds me back. So at the end of the day, my goal isn't to take compounds, you know, my goal is to get to the results I want. And I'm just basing that off of how things are looking, much like I would, you know, with a client. I know we had some other SLU stuff in here. I'm going to scroll back up. Somebody, Jack, said he was interested in SLU. Let's see if I can do a little search here in the comments. Let's see if that works. SLU. Yep, sure as hell did. Yeah, just somebody that said shoot us an update. So yeah, scale still hasn't changed. Now, I am considering adding in a low dose of T3, like 20 micrograms. I found for myself, 20 micrograms of T3 does make a world of difference for me with fat loss. So I may add that in soon, but for the moment, I don't want to get too crazy with things. I just want to make sure I can see what are the results there. And then I am going to add in some Retta pretty soon here too. So I'm excited about that as well. So I am going to start, it's going to get a little bit murky, you know, as I start stacking things. Somebody mentioned they reordered SLU along with Cardarine and Clen. Been having good results on 500 mics a day. Here's one other thing I wanted to note. So I feel like, and you guys tell me, anybody who's running SLU or has experience, you know, Lucas, Zach, anybody else in here, I feel like now that I'm in the third week, the 400 micrograms I was running doesn't seem to feel as much of a, I'm not getting as much of a punch from it as far as the cognitive lift as I did in the first week. Do you feel that there is a diminishing return over time with the same dose of SLU? I'm interested to hear your guys' feedback on that. What does Lucas say here? He says, confirm that body fat, let's see, weight is staying the same, but body fat is changing so rapidly. Cardarine, in addition, works great. So I have had good experience with Cardarine. That said, I'm a little hesitant. I try to keep it to a minimum, just given those rat studies. You know what I'm saying? I want to be careful with it. I know the argument for it, that they were using super high doses, all of that. But, you know, if I can get, once again, if I can get to my goals, I'm not looking at what can I take. I'm looking at how can I get there the fastest. And right now I'm doing really well with just the SLU. And I think the next step will be to add in some T3. I do have some Cardarine. It might even be sitting right here at my desk, but yeah, we're going to hold off for right now. Curious to hear if anybody else, what do you have here? Doug says that about 30 minutes after taking SLU, I can notice a definite ergogenic effect. Yeah, no question about it, man. You guys, still looking for you to comment back, by the way. Do you feel there's a diminishing return over time? I'm going to take a drink here. We'll get to the next one. So good. All right. What do we have here? So Lucas has taken 600. Lyle McDonald has a book now on GLPs. Right on. What's up, Brendan? There's Austin. Hey, brother. He just saw my message. Let's see what he says here. Okay, let's bring up Austin's picture, guys. Austin says it's cool if we bring his picture up. I want to show you guys what he looks like right now, and I think this will be some motivation for him too to get with the program. Not sure if he heard the previous conversation we had. So let's see. Well, let's pull this up. Let's compare where he's at now. So here's Austin today. This is current, okay? He shaved the head since he competed last, right? And then this was a few years back. Now, in this time, Austin has not been training consistently. He's been, not taking additional supplements. And his goal is to basically make a comeback. I feel like legs look equally as big as last time. That said, this is in a state where he is not dieted, hasn't done cardio. I think that we can definitely get his legs to look at least this good on stage now, size-wise. Looks like I'm seeing from this front shot, I feel like lats are maybe down a little. Arms are very similar. Chest is very similar. That shape isn't going anywhere. I think he's got incredible shape. I think that with 6 months, getting back consistently with eating protein 6 times a day, just that alone, and consistently training and hitting failure, he is going to make some incredible progress from that alone. You know, we're going to try to build the food back up first because his diet hasn't been consistent. And then from there, the goal is going to be to, diet him down. So I figure about, somewhere in the realm of 6 to 8 weeks of building up, and he will lose fat along the way. So you guys stay tuned, and, we'll keep you guys posted on how Austin's doing coming into the Tampa Pro, making his pro debut after a little bit of a layoff there. Imagine if he had Scott's calves. Man, nobody looks at calves anymore, right? You can win a show without calves most of the time, I think. What else do we have here? Really interested in the cognitive benefits of alpha SLU, given my family history of dementia. Man, there's a lot of really good supplements out there related to brain power. And he asked if there's any research or anecdote on the compound for brain power. Listen, it is so early in testing right now. We haven't even used it in humans. They've seen a few mice and rat studies. It's been very minimal. Those studies have looked promising, so much so that all of us bodybuilders have wanted to get our dirty little hands all over it now. But we will, I'm sure, learn a lot more in time. So I'll be looking forward to hear that. Yeah, Austin had some freaking incredible glutes in that shot, too. I had another shot of him. Let me see if I can find this one. Let's see if I had this other shot. So this was the same day. This is off stage a number of hours later. So, if you guys don't know, at North Americans, you literally have to wait all day to get on stage, and then you have to wait all day to come back for finals. So this is Austin waiting for finals that day, just hanging out in the hotel there over at North Americans. I think we got even a little bit better fullness by the night show, and that's generally what we get. You only have so long in the morning, and it's always a hydration concern. That's the main thing that you're going to be able to change fullness or sharpness with. Yeah. So we'll look forward to seeing that. Ever follow GH15 protocols back in the day, or did you avoid those forums? I remember GH15. I remember there were a few guys that had people would come out, and they still do today. They come out with like, hey, I've got this brand new way of running gear that you've never heard of before. And, you're going to make these incredible gains that you've never seen before in your life. The reality is, man, that, I don't know. It's good to experiment. It's good to question the norm, but things work the way they work for a reason. So I don't know who GH15 actually was, but he sure did stoke a lot of fires, guys. He considered, for those of you who don't know, back in the board days, GH15 was a guy who said that he was a well-known anonymous pro. Okay. And he was like sharing these pro secrets, and people thought it was this guy or that guy. People were like, it's Nasser, and it was kind of funny, back in those days. It was always fun, at least, to see when those threats came up, but I always took them with a grain of salt. I'll put it that way. Yes. Pineapple, rice, tilapia, and trenbolone, insulona, testosterone. Man, I'll tell you what, pineapple is a great way to push your calories up a little bit further if you need to get in more carbs. I loved it. Starting dose on SLU, I'd say a lot of people are saying 500. I found 400 is great. What else do we have here? So there's my update with SLU. We do have that physique critique still. I know you've got, I'm hitting your guys' questions as we go. How frequent can you use an injection site? That was a question for drugs and stuff that we missed because Dave's out of town. I mean, I think the standard is once a week, you know, but depending on your rotation, I'll tell you what, my first 2 cycles, I only did glutes, right? And by the end of those 2 cycles, I had a pretty decent amount of snap, crackle, and pop scar tissue from only using glutes time after time after time. That said, I think glutes are a great site. You know, it's very pliable tissue. You're a lot less likely, from just my anecdotal experience of what I've seen over the years, you're a lot less likely to get a glute infection than you are a quad infection. Seems like so many times guys get infections in their quads. I got one. It was terrifying. Thankfully, I was able to get rid of it with an antibiotic. But once a week is considered to be standard. You know, I would suggest to, you know, I'll tell you what, it depends on the volume of your shot too. You know, a lot of guys nowadays are taking these really low dose cycles. So I'm going to put my jacket on here. I'm starting to cool down after doing my training and cardio. A lot of guys are doing these low dose cycles nowadays. So if you're taking a 0.5 ml, I feel like it'd be a lot easier to come back to that site again. You know what I mean? Versus if you're taking 3 cc's, it's a lot more for that glute or that muscle group to recover from. I think it's going to depend, but I would say on average, you know, 1 shot a week would probably be good. And as Sharp Home Solution says, rotate. You know, I rotated while competing through glutes, quads, delts, rear delts, small shots in delts, small shots in rear delts, small shots in biceps, small shots in triceps, lats. I'd use lats. If I were to do, say, a bicep shot because my other sites were inflamed, I would split it 50-50 into each bicep just because they're small muscle groups. I didn't want to, you know, jam them full of a ton of oil. I'm not a huge guy, right? I'm light heavy, or was a light heavyweight on stage, meaning that I'm competing at 200, maybe 225 in the off season. I didn't get that far out of shape, you know, 5'7", 5'8". So, you know, size wise, I'm not massive, but still, man, that's a lot of oil to put in a muscle. Last thing you want to do is get an infection. I did like lats. You know, Sharp Home Solution says lats. I'm a fan of lat shots because I hardly used them. They were always just smooth as butter too. It's just a matter of getting that flexibility to be able to get over there and hit that lat with a 1-inch 25 gauge pin. You can do it though. You can do it. What's up? UC Suma's with us. Another one of my guys doing incredible work. We're in an off-season / prep cycle right now. It's a short, fast-acting compound cycle. Plan is to not really push the food up, but we have enough time. It's too early to start dieting for the show, but he's got enough time for a little quick in and out blast here. So we're going to try to make some progress. I can call Mr. Sharp by his first name. What's up, Matt? So I never did a ventroglute shot. Never did them in my life. I've seen people doing, I've seen diagrams, never done one in my life. I hear that people say they are smooth as butter though. We got some fun stuff here. Favorite vacation you and Victoria have gone on. I'll make that one really quick so we can get back to the gear talk. But man, we went to Australia 2 years ago now. And it was mind-blowing. She had a seminar that she was invited to speak at, so all her expenses were paid, meaning I just had to pay for my ticket, and then we stayed for 2 weeks. And I got to meet a lot of cool people. Sarah Rainbow, one of the strongest female powerlifters in the world. Victoria works with her coach and helps to give him insight into working with Sarah. They're coming out to the Arnold, so we might be able to do some content. I think Sarah and her coach are coming up here to Michigan. We're going to maybe do he wants to do some shooting, so we might go to the range and shoot some video there. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to get through your guys' questions. And thank you, Christopher Logan. If you guys are here, hanging out with me, enjoy this stuff. If I'm helping you pass the time, then do me a favor and hit the like button, because that'll, only help me, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Okay, GH and TRT, and should you up the dose on a cruise? I'm going to tell you, back in the day, way back in the day, when I used to come off between cycles, the first time I ran growth, I had enough growth to run it through an off-season cycle and then continue on it into my, back into recovering natural test. I hardly lost any of that fullness and pump that you get from the gym, not even taking TRT, just from having that growth in there. I felt like, if nothing else, it was a really good mental motivation to continue on with growth. So I honestly, a lot of times people say growth is a more advanced compound. To a degree, in one way it is, meaning that if you ever hear me say that growth hormone is an advanced compound, understand I'm not telling you that you're not good enough to use it. What I mean by that is, there are so many things that you can get more out of first. Like, the cost to benefit on growth it's pretty poor, right? So I would say, you can exhaust a lot of things with anabolics before you get to growth. That's what I mainly mean by that. So just to make that clear, first of all, but yeah, if you can afford to run even 2-3 units of growth after you come off, I only think that's going to be to your benefit, assuming, of course, that it's not having a negative impact on your blood sugar. If you're one of those guys that you find your blood sugar gets all wonky on GH, then I think it's a really good idea to be able to take breaks. Yes, you can try to counteract that by using insulin on cycle and everything, but there's points you want to take a break. The insulin isn't fixing anything. It's just helping to make up for the issue you're having of high blood sugar. So I would encourage somebody in that case to also come off the GH, give that a break, let things come back to normal. I do have a few guys too, 2 or 3 guys, I do see their T4 plummet dramatically on T4, or excuse me, on GH, UC Suma being one of them. And we've found that in off-season or diet setting, I'll talk off-season though, in that situation, if we see low T4, even though they feel okay, and T3 is obviously fine, what we're experiencing is there is a more rapid conversion from T4 to T3 on GH. It doesn't happen to everybody, but I found that if you are on it long enough or you're taking a high enough dose, that's when you really want to start looking at that. And at least in just my personal experience as a coach, working with Matt, working with a couple other guys who are very experienced bodybuilders, we've found that supplementing with some T4 in those situations, they just seem to utilize their food better and stay leaner. They're not, it's not like a fat burner so much in that case. It just, you can see things click. It's hard to explain, but as a coach, when I look at people's check-in pictures, I can tell when things are clicking. I can tell when things are doing what we want. And it's hard to put into words. I think it's just a culmination of having seen so many people transform their physiques over the years. There's a lot of data coming in also related to the previous set and the previous set and the previous set of pictures. It all just kind of culminates together, and it gives you, as a coach, then you get the gut feeling like, yeah, this was a good move, and that's the way I've always felt. In my case, I'm not saying everybody's going to be that way, but as a coach, when I see a client with low T4 due to growth hormone, I've seen T4 supplementation being of benefit to that client. Just my experience. So I'm not saying that's an across the board thing and that everybody should do it. What else do we have here? Okay, we got the injection site one. Oh, we did get asked by one of our listeners on Patreon. He said he didn't want to comment on YouTube for fear that people would be able to track down that he was commenting on a steroid-related podcast. So I'm not going to mention his name. But he asked, what was the final word on rest time between sets? I think you guys are going to agree with me. You tell me if you don't. I think that rest time is going to vary depending on the situation. You know what I mean? Like depending on where, like what's the workout you're doing? What's the exercise you're doing? A lot of times I train, even with like heavy duty training, even with like high intensity, low frequency, or excuse me, high intensity, high frequency, low volume, I still take somewhat of a John Meadows approach, meaning my first exercise is the exercise I'm using to really get my joints and central nervous system activated. It's still a hard workout, you know, still a hard exercise, say like a lat pull down, you know. Lat pull down isn't going to be like destroying your central nervous system the way a dumbbell row is or a barbell row, right? So I warm it up first, then I get into that heavy meat and potatoes movement. I love the freaking dumbbell row so much that I bought a set of dumbbells up to 150 down here in the basement gym. Like, man, it's my favorite movement. And part of it is that I can support my low back, you know, while I'm rowing. Okay, so I'm going to have a different amount of rest time after between sets on my lat pull down than I am with that dumbbell row. You know what I mean? I'm going to take a lot more time, especially if I'm doing say a very high intensity, high frequency, low volume workout. My rest times are going to be pretty long on that dumbbell row. If I'm only doing a top set and a back off set, it might be 5 minutes between sets. You know, it might take me 4 minutes between my right side to my left side. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to move faster in other areas of the workout, you know? Now, contrary to that, let's say we're taking a workout where we're intentionally using higher volume. We're trying to keep you from overdoing it with your central nervous system too much. I'll use rest time as a tool to almost work as a governor. You know, if you only have a 1 minute rest time between sets, you're only going to be able to train so hard, right? So if we need you to be able to pull back a little bit, say like we have a push-pull legs, upper lower, or push-pull legs. Let's call it push-pull legs, chest, back, okay? Let's say we're doing that, or push-pull legs, chest, legs. When I come back to that chest workout, I generally will use more volume in the chest workout if I'm doing chest alone. You know, there's absolutely no question in the world that progressive overload is going to give you the majority of your gains. That said, we can only push so hard. You know, Nate Spears said the other year, I asked him how he grew his legs, and he said, I added a little bit more volume in. He said, I realized as intense of a trainer as I am, there's only so far I can go, so hard I can take it. And I thought that adding a little bit more volume in would be to my benefit. And I think across the board, having a little bit more volume in can be beneficial if you're doing super, super high intensity work. And you know, anyway, specific situations, I think it's a good move. And in that case, there'd be another situation where I would use rest time as a governor to keep you from being able to train your hardest. I'd ask yourself though, you know, are you able to do what you need to do? Did you need more rest? And then adjust from there. I think it's going to change a little bit too, depending on where you're at that day. You know, did you get enough sleep? Are you hydrated? You know, you're going to be able to come back faster if you're feeling your absolute best. And then there's going to be days where it was really stressful at work. It was really hot outside. Work didn't have air conditioning. You lost a lot of water. You know, you got in a fight with your girlfriend. You stayed up late. You know, whatever the case, there's going to be days that you're going to need a little bit more time. So I don't ever want to say that rest times need to be written in stone. I think it's important to definitely pay attention to what your rest times are. But, you know, you guys tell me if you disagree with that. Rest times should not include being on your damn phone. That's true, isn't it? GHRP is a great app. Oh, appetite stimulating peptide. I never really got that, honestly. I believe me, I used a ton of it. And if you feel like it does work for you, then hey, more power to you. I wouldn't necessarily rely on it for the GH effect. I would much rather take actual growth, you know. But hey, if it allows you to eat more and that allows you to grow, that'll allow you to grow better, then I'd say go for it, right? Is MENT a good mass builder or just side effects in a bottle? Both. The answer is both. I'll tell you what, believe it or not, I've run a lot of different cycles in my day. And MENT was one of the highest side effect cycles that I've ever had in my life. And that's even as somebody who has a crap ton of experience. I ran it twice, actually. The first time I ran it, it was the acetate version, 50 milligrams every other day in a contest prep cycle. 2009, we didn't know anything about MENT. I don't know if I've ever shown you guys this picture. Let me see. I can probably pull it up easily. So I was small. Like, I really liked this look, but I was a middleweight, right? So here's me at 172 pounds for my second ever contest. And I was on MENT at the time. So it's 172 on MENT. Leanest I'd ever freaking gotten, man. 50 milligrams every other day. I also was, what else was I using? Masteron, and I used, what was it? I think Winstrol for the last 4 weeks. Here's the deal. So we didn't know about MENT back then. We didn't know about the conversion or anything. It's not a great contest prep drug. Let me be straight with you guys. It wasn't a good move, but we didn't know. Nobody knew about it. I was running a massive load of AIs including letrozole. Back then, we used to probably lower estrogen more than we needed to. But I remember like 3 weeks out and being like, why do I have these crazy sock lines that are like massive indentations in my legs? Like I could press in my leg and it would stick, you know? I'm like, what's going on with that? So yeah, I had to hammer the estrogen. Used it again at, I think it was just 100 milligrams a week of the long-acting version with 600 tests. The mistake I made that time, I was not using an AI. I knew that my estrogen was already through the roof. So the scale that goes to like 40, I was at 200. And I was like, yeah, screw it. I don't feel bad from it. And then I'm like, I'll just add in 100 of this MENT. It'll be fine. I got incredibly freaking strong, but I also got moody. Like my workouts got really freaking dark. You know what I mean? Like I was in there for blood, which was kind of fun, but it kind of followed me. You know what I mean? I like getting intense for a workout, but if it follows you long term, it's not what I want. I want to feel good. And if I take anything gear wise, I want it to enhance all areas of my life. I don't want it to make me feel moody or infect my sleep or any of that crap. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, man, that was my second contest ever, man, 172. And then from there, I went through a breakup, and that's when I moved up from 172 to 194 18 months later. Like, I freaking blew up. I was eating for a while. It was close to 10,000 calories when I added it up, and it was the worst diet you could possibly think of. I would not suggest it. A lot of maltodextrin in there. It was literally like eating it in a meal every hour. Solid food with 2 cups of rice, 8 ounces of chicken or beef, and then a shake with 50 grams of maltodextrin and a bunch of gulps of olive oil. It was the worst, man. All right, what else do we have here? There's some other good ones. Okay, so over-the-counter supplements to avoid post-workout. And I'm also looking to see what else we have here in the stream, guys. So it'll take me a minute because I'm going to have to read. So I hate reading and then not being able to, talk at the same time. But I'll get to the questions from the thread next from the stream. But yeah, Scott Stevenson and I talked a lot before about over-the-counter supplements that you want to avoid around training. Now, here's the interesting thing. So the main thing we're looking at here is the inflammation pathways. We're going to ask ourselves, is it going to be beneficial? Or really, the idea is that you don't want to limit inflammation, because training in itself is a controlled course of creating inflammation. Now, what blows my mind though is that if your what we determined is that if your inflammation is already high, or if you pushed that training too far, you might just take a little bit off and put yourself into a better position to grow. Now, years ago, we were just told, like, don't take Advil. Advil will ruin your gains. You know, when you train, you get an inflammatory response that triggers basically the whole cascade of growth that occurs in the muscle. You know, we were afraid that Advil would cut that off. Now, assuming that you are perfectly healthy and assuming that you have the absolute perfect dose of training, then yes, that's true. But if you already have some level of inflammation, if you maybe don't have the perfect dose for training, you do too much, then having an anti-inflammatory in there may actually improve your growth. What we found, what Scott showed me, was a study with geriatric patients, and they found that using an NSAID actually improved muscle growth over the course of the study. So it was really eye-opening to see that. You know, that said, you know, it wouldn't be a bad move to keep things away from your training, like that are gonna basically your antioxidants. You know, a lot of guys are running like glutathione or NAC. I would keep that away from your training. You know, even vitamin C, I would keep that away from your training. Any of those things, I would put them in at the opposite part of the day, you know, to, if anything, to not cut that off. Even like turmeric, I generally try to keep that in at another point of the day. Who's to say though, you know, who's to say? I can tolerate 3 grams of test very easily in comparison to Tren Ace at 300 milligrams per weekly. It's common. Is he saying it's common, or is he asking, is it common? I don't know, man. 3 grams of test is a lot of freaking test. You know what I'm saying, guys? I don't think I ever ran 3 grams of test, to be completely fair here. I know I ran like 1.25 grams, and that was in conjunction with 800 EQ, and it was either 200 or 300 NPP. That was probably about the highest dose cycle I ever ran, plus the 100 Dbol that I mentioned for, you know, a few weeks at a time. So I never experienced with 3 grams. I mean, that's freaking incredible, man. So yeah, I think he's asking, is that common? Man, I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what though, I have seen some people that don't do well with 19 NORs in general. You know, I've seen, I'll tell you what, we have a question that kind of ties into it. Where was that? So somebody said, now I guess anytime somebody says, oh, Broderick said this, or Dave Crossland said that, it's secondhand. So it's not exactly what that person said. You know what I mean? Somebody mentioned though that Broderick Chavez says there's no need for anything more than 300 milligrams of test in a cycle. I tell you what, man, I don't know if I agree with that. You know, there's going to be individuals that handle test really well. Like the guy who just is in our stream mentioning 3 grams, which, I mean, that might be a little over the top. But then there's going to be people who don't do well with test. There's going to be people who would have extremely low estrogen, you know, if they didn't have a good amount of test in there. I've worked with guys that if we do like 500 test and 300 EQ, or 800 test and 500 EQ, or, you know, 500 DECA or whatever else, they have their estrogen is in the low normal range, even without an AI. So a guy like that, I think he can, you know, it's an individual basis. Whereas another guy, he takes, you know, 500 tests and he needs every AI under the sun to control that estrogen, and he looks like crap and he feels terrible, you know, and he's still fighting gyno. So I think a guy like that, you know, you're better off keeping the test low. You know, each compound has its own unique set of benefits, right? So it's kind of about figuring out what works best for you. Somebody asked, do I have any recent pictures? So Enlightened Turtle, I like your name. Listen, I'm not posting any recent pictures right now. I mentioned earlier that I'm dieting right now. So I am shooting progress pictures, and my goal is to get back into good shape. You know, I had gotten sick with the bug in 2021, and I've dealt with a lot of chronic fatigue stuff since then, some other issues, but I haven't gotten into really good shape in that since then. And the first year I couldn't even hardly train, but things are going pretty good now. And I'm, like I said, I'm at the point where I'm taking progress pictures. So you will get pictures once I feel comfortable with where I'm at. You know, I don't feel comfortable with where I am right now. All right, what else do we have here? About UC Suma at 700. Oh, I think he's talking to somebody else here. All right, we do have a bunch of other stuff. Cosmetic effect of EQ. Man, I loved EQ. It is one of my favorite compounds. I think that personally is my favorite growth compound. I found that Deca just kind of messed me up mentally. You know, I could run lower doses, but I didn't feel good on it, you know. And I wonder too if it has something to do with its ability to like decrease how well you can use dopamine, you know. But I had a feeling of like emptiness isn't the right word, but it's like just something was missing kind of feel. So Deca for me, it was never a great compound. I know freaking Dave loves it. So, oh shit, I forgot. I got something for you guys. Hold on. I'm going to have to leave the stream here. Give me just a second. I got a surprise for you. Forgot all about this. Hang tight. I'm coming right back. I've got a special guest who flew in just for this occasion while Dave is away. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Christmas Cabbage, who's hanging out with me for the stream today. See if I can prop him up here for a little while. There we go, Christmas Cabbage. Welcome to the show, Christmas Cabbage. Cosmetic effect of EQ. I think it's you get good fullness from it. I think that you can do really well with EQ without looking overly bloated. Of course, that all comes down to the diet. Some guys, I can run EQ straight into the show. A lot of times we pull it out. You know, I think it is a great compound though. If you're not competing and you just want to get in really good shape and look full and vascular, EQ could be a really good component to that. I mean, even EQ with test and a DHT, damn, I think that would be a great, like, you know, summer ready, beach ready look. And I like the long acting compounds for in a situation like that. Like let's say you're using test, EQ, mast, nethate, or primo. Yeah, something like that would be a nice compounds that you can run longer term, you know, versus contest prep. We're looking to try to make you look a very specific way for 1 hour of one day, you know. And so everything we do is related to that. Versus beach ready, you know, we want to keep you looking in good shape as long as we can, you know, all the way through, you know, June, July, and August. So if we get you in good shape and we're running compounds like that, it's just an all-around good look, you know. What's up, Kenny? Good to have you here, brother. What else do we have here? Yes, Christmas Cabbage is with us, guys. Christmas Cabbage is on the stream. Let's see what we have here in the live stream. Matt Sharp says, I just started another prep. He says, we should connect offline and share progress pictures as we go. Nope, I'm not sharing my progress pictures with anybody yet. But give me some time, guys. Give me some time. I figure that as long as I can hang with this and stay with this, it should probably take me about 12, 16 weeks to be in really good shape. But thank you, Lucas. Appreciate you, brother. Thoughts on the new generation of bodybuilders like Sam Sulek? I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't seen a ton of Sam stuff. I know that you guys have talked a ton about him. I saw, there is a funny cartoon about Sam. I got to think of the name of that. You guys have probably seen it, but it was funny as hell. Let me see if I can find it. I can't play it here, but I'll tell you guys about it in case you haven't. But it's just a funny cartoon that they do a lot of mocking of different stereotypes. You guys tell me if you know the name of it. I'm going to type his name in. What is it? Meat Cannon. Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen this, it was funny as hell. Here's the thumbnail of it. I bet you that I'm the last person who saw this. You guys have already seen this. I laughed so hard watching this thing. And that channel is pretty funny overall. A little kind of grotesque and gruesome, but it was funny as hell. You guys have probably seen that. What's up, Jay? You're not late. You're right on time, man. And Anthony, good to have you here, brother. You got a question for us about, that's how mass makes you feel. Mass makes you feel disconnected. Hey, thank you for the super chat, man. Believe me, I can use every penny I can get. I really appreciate it, brother. So thank you for helping to support the channel. And you guys know VJ of Bodybuilding Nerds Radio. We got Vij with us. The people, they want another Bodybuilding Nerds. Hey, I was thinking about hitting you up to see if you're available this weekend to record one, Vij. So let me know. Drop me a text. Let me know if you're available to knock out a BNR. And by the way, too, guys, if you have any videos that you want us to check out, we can live stream them while we record and talk about them. I love doing that stuff. And if you guys don't know, Vij and I did my first podcast ever. Our first podcast, it was back in 2015. We started BNR, Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, and we had a blast. We did like, 400 episodes, something like that. It was incredible, man. But, you know, it's cool. And what's really cool is that some of you guys are still watching since all the way back then. Literally, that was a decade ago now. It's been a decade since I've been podcasting, I think. So anyway, what else do we have here? Oh, and overall, too, people like Sam Sulek, modern bodybuilding, I freaking love it. You know, Sam, from the little I know about him, he's just like a real dude. And I love seeing people connect to real bodybuilders. You know what I mean? When I see the fake kind of poser guys who really don't know what they're doing and they just talk a big game, and I see people getting connected to that, I do cringe a little bit, you know. And those things, they run their course. People get figured out, you know, over time. I've been doing this for a decade, right? And over that period of time, I've seen a lot of shysters come and go. But a guy like Sam, he's the real deal. You know, he's doing what he loves, and that comes through. And I think that's the reason he's successful. So I love seeing him do that. You know, and there are some other, I love Jesse James West. That dude is incredible. And when I got a chance to meet him, you know, he recorded with Victoria. That video got like 1 million views, by the way, that she was on with him. You know, I hung out there. They had a studio that they had rented some space or borrowed some space. I think somebody just knew who he was and, you know, let him use the studio for free, out in, what was that, Vegas for the Olympia. You know, Victoria did a big interview with him, and, you know, he was great. The guys who organized his stuff and produced his stuff, they were all cool. And they genuinely have a passion for the sport, and it comes through in their content. So I know a lot of people are like, you know, old school guys, they kind of look down on the new school, and they're like, oh, these kids don't know what they're doing. And I don't think that that's cool. You know, sometimes it can be frustrating to see the younger guys learning lessons that we know the answers to, but we had to do the same exact thing. You know, we had to learn the same exact stuff our own way, you know. And I'm going to tell you one thing right now, that when I was younger, there was a point when I felt like we're redoing everything. We're going to question everything, and it doesn't have to be the way that all these old timers said it was. And, you know, that was our attitude. And I see that attitude again today. It's always a matter of questioning the last generation and feeling like you're reinventing everything. But in the end, everybody kind of settles like, I agree with a lot of the stuff the guys said before me, you know, but then there were new things. And now a lot of the new guys are disagreeing with the old guys, right? And they're going to learn some new stuff, but then they're also going to fall back on the things that work too. So, you know, it's one big continuum. And as long as people freaking keep loving the sport and promoting it and promoting that passion, that's what I really care about. So yeah, I'm all about Sam and people like him. I think that that's pretty cool. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, I got a text from VJ. VJ says, I'm available. Let's go. All right. So we're going to record another BNR coming up soon. How far in are we? We are an hour in. We've got 132 people on this stream right now. Thank you guys. This has been much bigger success than I expected. I figured there was going to be like, you know, one of you, one of my clients and my mom, and that was it. Thankfully, I didn't say anything my mom would be upset about. What else do we have here? I do have a few things I want to knock through. And you're kidding me. Ed says, I'll admit people like Sam have gotten me back into the gym. More people like him, please. That's freaking cool. So I'm guessing that Jim's been a guy who's been around for a long time, you know? And I love hearing that the new crew is inspiring the older guys. You know, I love seeing that passion. That's what it's all about. Jason says, 47 years old. I'm 5'11", 304 after cycle, and I could do for fat loss and muscle gain. So Jason, I'm just going to tell you this, brother. If you clean up your diet, you clean up your diet, and you probably, I don't even know if you need to bring the food down, man, but 304, if you've got a lot of body fat on you, and you're asking me what you need to do, I would say just diet, man. In that process, you are going to retain the muscle, if not gain more, you know. Unless you're 300 pounds like Big Ramy 300, you know, then if you're holding a good amount of body fat, just focus on getting that off, because the leaner you get, the better your insulin sensitivity is going to be, the better you're going to be able to grow muscle, and the more food you'll be able to handle while still staying lean, you know. I'll tell you what, just to throw it out there, I've worked with a lot of guys that are 3 bills, and I don't even know what % body fat, but they need to lose a ton, right? We've gotten down to 200 pounds lean, you know, and it's taken about a year to do that. My first diet client ever, by the way, he was 315 pounds. And I thought, yeah, I could help this guy. No, I could. You know, I know more than he does. And yeah, he's 300 pounds. I could definitely get him in better shape. So we ended up working together for a year. In that period of time, he gained 10 pounds of muscle while losing over 100 pounds of fat. I mean, I call that a freaking win. And then he planned to go to Jamaica with his wife to celebrate after all that was over. So, you know, you just have to keep dieting. And I know that you feel like, well, I'm lean enough. You got to just keep dieting it off, man. Keep going. I promise you. Because here's the thing, and this is kind of hard to explain sometimes as a coach. It's not just about like getting bigger or, you know, gaining more muscle or getting leaner. It's about getting better. And so when I look at a client, I ask myself, like, what does he need to be better? I'm working with this guy, Garrett is his first name. I won't mention his last name. I want to keep some anonymity for people that might not want their names thrown on the show. We worked together before, and he wanted to diet down. We kept dieting and dieting and dieting. Now he's only like $170 to begin with, and his body was resistant to getting like the lower back fat off. So I thought, well, we'll just keep going, and, you know, we'll recomp real quick. We'll diet down, and then we'll add food back in. And it ended up being a much longer diet. So he comes back to me now after taking like a year off or so, maybe longer. We're working together again. He's about $170. He's got some lower back fat, but you can see the outline of his abs. And he says, you know, what do you want to do? And I initially, he wanted to diet, and I talked to him about it. I was like, listen, man, you're not holding a ton of fat. You know, I could see getting leaner, but if I look at your physique, what's the one thing that's going to make you better right now? And it would be to have more muscle. He's not in a position where he's so fat he needs to diet first. So we are going to build the diet up. I do believe he'll get leaner in the process, but I would just try to objectively look at your physique. Take pictures, even if you're not working with a coach. Take your own pictures, because you can evaluate those pictures better than looking at yourself in the mirror. Just trust me on that. and then take pictures consistently each week so that you can track your progress. Look at yourself as being your own coach. You know, you gotta take pictures, because each set of pictures is telling a story once you start putting them together. And, you know, you're either going to see changes or you're not going to see changes. Either way, that's telling you either something needs to change, or you're on the right path, or, you know, whatever. But my point to that is look at that picture and ask yourself objectively, what's the one thing I could use right now to be better? What would it take to be better right now? And I guarantee you that, you know, like I said, unless you're at like the level of a pro bodybuilder, 300 pounds, then getting leaner is probably going to be the goal. And keep looking at that constantly. Reevaluate. Every time you look at your check-in pictures, what's the thing I could use? It's probably going to be to get leaner, you know? And then in itself, like I said, you'll grow muscle in the process too. All right. What else do we have here, guys? Yes, Veej. Like, share, subscribe. All right. I appreciate you, man. And I look forward to recording the next B&R. Only 7 likes. Lucas, thank you for pointing that out, man. Okay. So I'm getting some feedback here that SLU, diminishing returns, feedback from me above. Oh, what does he say? Give me just a minute, guys. I'm sorry I stopped talking here. I'm reading. I love that you guys have commented a ton. Hello from Holland, Michigan. Just enjoying a brand new Planet Fitness location while listening. Hey, shout out to Holland, Michigan. I'd love to come out there and see the Tulip Festival. Lucas says that he met Sam in the UK at the UK Arnold. Thought it was an act, but he was the real deal. Yeah, Ron and Dusty and the rest of the Mutant crew got to train with him, or they all, you know, trained together out there in the UK. And then we saw him at the Olympia, just, you know, briefly. Everybody was all following him around, though. Costco or Sam's Club? That's an important question. I'm a Costco guy, personally. I always have been, mainly because there's a Costco close to my house versus the Sam's Club is further away. What else do we have in here? Do you have a dose protocol recommendation? I don't want to ruin my quality of life. What was that for? Was it SLU? I think we said 400, 500. That'd be good. Somewhere in there. Free test is more important. I love seeing you guys comment here. Difference between free test and total test. What's more important for gains? Your free test is what we want to definitely see higher. But what's interesting is I think there is a balance there, kind of segueing into SHBG. So I found that if I crush, a lot of times we want to see low SHBG. Lower SHBG, then the higher the free test. The higher the free test, the more test we have to grow muscle. It's the unbound test. It's not being used for regular body function. You've got it available. That said, I feel like, I don't know if SHBG is as bad as the rep that it gets. I found that if I lower my SHBG too much, I start feeling pretty crappy overall. So I want some SHBG in my life. I think it's a balance, just kind of the way like estrogen, you know, like low estrogen is going to be better, right? No, that's what we used to think. So we'd crush the estrogen. We know that, like, just kind of keeping it in there. I keep seeing this diminishing returns answer above. I know it's a lot to scroll through. Wow, you guys have commented a freaking ton. I appreciate it. We've got 167 people in the chat. Hey guys, if you're enjoying hanging out with me, then do me a favor and hit the like button. It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to put our channel in your algorithm any further, but it will help to put our channel in other people's algorithm, and that's what I really want to try to do. I would love to continue growing the channel for 2025 and help get everybody that I work with, help getting their ideas out there. How much test would you start someone that's never touched a needle. So somebody who's never touched gear at all, I mean, so years ago, I would have definitely, and thank you, I see those likes coming in. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. It's it really does make a difference. Bigger than you know. So it's like one of those things. And I'll tell you too, like if I get good service somewhere, I try to tell people thank you. And it's something that doesn't cost me anything, but it's a way I can make somebody else's life better. You know what I mean? It's like they don't expect it, but it's like, oh, they kind of get taken back. And that's exactly what the like button is like. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. So the test question though, how much test for a first cycle, I guess, is what we're coming down to. And if you asked me 2005, I would have told you it had to be 500, nothing less than 500, bro. And that you could, run a little bit of a Arimidex and then do your PCT, et cetera, et cetera. Honestly, though, I feel like you can get away with less. There's a caveat to that, though. I think the cost to benefit is pretty damn similar between 300 to 500. Cost at 500, you're definitely going to need, or you're probably going to need something to control estrogen. So there is that to keep in mind. Okay. I have worked with people that have out the gate just started with a cycle, first cycle being 300 test, 300 primo. And we can generally control estrogen with that. I've even done like 250 test, 250 primo, or 200 mast E. 250 test, 250 mast D, something like that. And I've gotten really good results with it. Hell, I've even taken guys, and I love doing this. I'll take a guy who does TRT, doesn't want to do a lot of gear, but he wants to get in good shape. Good with following the plan. Let's say he's on 150 test for TRT. We'll like boost him up to 250 and we'll add in 250 mast. And just that alone, we can get somebody like freaking peeled. And it feels good. I wish I could pull up more pictures. I'd have to ask people for their permission. But you take something like that. Here's the deal. It's a low dose cycle, right? So let's say we start getting you toward your goals. Once you start your cycle, the clock is on. There's only so long before you have to come back off that cycle. You know what I mean? So the lower the dose, the less sides, the longer you can generally stay on it. So not for this guy we're talking about who's never touched test before. He's going to want to be able to come off, do a PCT, all of that. But for a TRT guy, you never touched gear, you're on, say, 150 test. I'd say even something like 250 test, 250 mast D, something like that you could run for an extended period of time. Like I'd even go maybe 10 weeks in, check your labs, see where you're at, then consider going another 8. I don't have a problem with an 18-week cycle at 250 test, 250 mast D, if you're getting labs along the way. I check labs at, say, 8 to 10 weeks in, and then again at maybe 14, 15 weeks in, something like that. And if we're good, maybe even run that for 20 freaking weeks. Like, I really wouldn't have a problem with that. Some people would call that their TRT plus, but it is a cycle, So anyway, this guy, I would say this, anywhere from 300 to 500 for a first cycle. Obviously, the more test he takes, the more he's going to have to do something to control estrogen. Generally, I would suggest that this person got their labs done before they touched anything. They want to know where their natural test level is. That way, when they come off the cycle and they recover, they can then see, what were their initial levels? Have they completely recovered? What are they shooting for after they come back off? So there's that. And then I would get labs done about 3 to 4 weeks in. By that point, you should be able to see where your estrogen levels are and have an idea if you're going to need something to control estrogen. I wouldn't preemptively take any AI, but I would wait and see. If you start getting any type of nipple sensitivity, itchiness, tenderness, it feels like it's swelling, pain, any of those things, I would then immediately discontinue or stop the test for a minute. Take an AI, take like 1 milligram of Arimidex immediately, reevaluate and then begin the test back up. Like I might end up like pushing the dose back for a few days. We might end up, if we're splitting it up 2 times a week, we might end up missing 1 dose. And that's just to not have more androgens pouring in as we're trying to get that estrogen under control. So we're not really going to lose anything. We're just going to maybe skip a dose, right? As we figure this out. That's one of the things that I think people make a mistake with a lot. They're like, I'm getting terrible gyno issues from this Dbol. What should I do? Well, first of all, stop the Dbol. You can start it back up, all right? But stop creating a further issue. You're still going to have a lot of estrogen in your body that you're going to need to get under control. But for just right now, the next few days, let's just give it a break, and then we'll come back to it after we've kind of started getting things under control. That's just one thought. It's not going to affect your progress. It's not going to affect anything really. You won't even see changes in the gym. You'll be completely fine. All right, what else do we have here in the stream? Currently added a little zip of Tren to my TRT. I've slowly increased the dose, and the recomp cycle is working pretty nicely. Shout out from St. Louis. What's up, man? Wow. Dave would freaking hate to hear this. I'm on TRT with Tren. He would absolutely hate to hear that. But hey, nothing wrong with starting low and figuring out as you go. Oh, what's up, man? We got Orion is getting ready for his first show. He's doing men's physique. Hey, listen, Orion, if I can give you one piece of advice, get freaking peeled. All right. So I actually, as a coach, my first experience, I got known, I guess I should say, locally as a men's physique coach. I started working with some guys in my gym that were in men's physique. They did really well. And as a result, a lot of people started reaching out to me for men's physique. In fact, while we're doing like the picture thing, I had all these pictures up here. I've got one. This is what I looked like back in the day here. How do I get back to this? How do I get back here? Give me just a minute. I'm going to pull this up. Oh, maybe I won't be able to find that too quickly. Never mind. I had just a picture of me backstage with like 5 of my clients, all men's physique guys. They all did, really well though. And that's why I got known as a men's physique guy for a few years there. And I'm going to tell you my secret. I dieted them like I dieted a bodybuilder. All right. A lot of times I think people look at other divisions like men's physique or bikini and they're like, well, you don't want to be too peeled for these. You don't want to look too, this isn't bodybuilding. But I'm telling you though, the girls who do the best are absolutely freaking peeled in bikini. The guys that do the best in men's physique, they are bodybuilder lean. It's all in the peak. It's all in how you peak somebody. That's how you can soften them back up if needed. Men's physique, though, you can generally walk up there nasty looking and do really well, especially at a state level show, especially at a state level show. If you come in just like grainy, nasty, they'll still love you. I promise. So get in the best shape you can. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. Get freaking peeled. And then give yourself enough time to fill out at the end. That's the caveat to that. All right. Can you comment on Mast E versus Primo or Anavar for women? This Friday, Andrew Barry and I have a podcast coming out where we discuss this actual topic. We're going to go more in depth. One of our Patreon subscribers, she mentioned that with Primo, she got a lot of hair loss, and even at 10 milligrams. So, our take was like, well, don't use Primo then, The issue, I think, with a lot of talk about steroids for females is that there's so much individuality as far as what's going to work for you. I mean, I've worked with a high-level bikini competitor who used EQ in her off-season. She ran TRT test with EQ, did swimmingly with it. Anavar, bloat the hell out of her. Yes, real Anavar. Some women don't get good responses from Anavar or a lot of the DHTs the way we would expect. 20 years ago, we thought, oh, well, it must be fake. And 20 years ago, it might have been fake. There's a lot of fake Dbol or Anavar back then. Nowadays, there's a lot more real stuff, but yeah, it's going to be individual. So I would say, you know, the best way is to figure out what works for you is to start as low as possible. You know, start as absolutely low as possible, and feel it out, and you can generally figure out whether it's going to be a good compound for you without having to commit to a higher dose. And this stuff, it's going to take time, you know, but that's what we do as males too. You know, it's the side effects are a little bit more forgiving a lot of times, you know. It took me a while to figure out that EQ was my thing. Like, I really loved EQ. So then I leaned into the things that worked for me. I loved Dbol, did really well with it. Anadrol, not so much. So then I leaned into the Dbol. You know, though, you figure out what works for you, and that's part of the process. It does take experimentation, and of course there are always going to be, you know, some things with females that you want to consider that we don't with males. Like, you know, what are my risks with a given compound? Say Tren versus, you know, Winstrol. I'd pick the Winstrol first, you know what I mean? But that said, that doesn't mean that you can get away with Winstrol. It's still going to take a low go at it. I mean, you could even start with testosterone, just at a low dose. We're talking start with replacement, see how that goes. But don't forget too, you're going to need to, assuming you come off and recover, you're going to need to do your own recovery phases too. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a solid answer. Like, all women should use, you know, X compound. It just doesn't work that way. At my gym, finding someone that does too much is rare. Oh, I see. I was back when we were talking about training at my gym, finding someone that does too much is rare. Yeah, I hear you. But if you're watching this stream, there's a chance that you freaking love bodybuilding, especially if you are an hour in. 165 freaking people. Thank you guys for the 98 likes. I freaking appreciate you. All right, what else do we have here? Looking in the stream here. Had to stop. Winstrol, great for strength, but it sucks for joints. Yeah, so I'm trying an experiment this year with a couple clients. I've got 2 guys that have Winstrol on hand for off season. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. Scott and I looked at a comparative study. It showed, like, I think 5 different anabolics. Maybe it was 7. And it showed which ones would give us the most muscle growth. And I've always taken Winstrol for granted, thinking of it as being, well, not for granted, but I think of it as a cutting agent. I think of it as an icing on the cake agent. I don't run it for more than 4 weeks. We're going to try a lower dose of Winstrol in the off season, like 25 milligrams, maybe 8 weeks, see what we get with that. Winstrol was shown in this study to be like the best compound for muscle growth in this study. So I'm curious to see, what do we get from a little more Winstrol? I generally only see it in the last 4 weeks of a prep, so we're not really looking for muscle growth at that time, you know. What else do we have here? By the way, once again, appreciate the super chats, the 2 super chats we got today. Man, I appreciate the hell out of you guys. It's really cool. What else do we have here? Thank you for the likes. I see a couple more likes coming in. Okay. With it being cold and flu season, what do you recommend as a coach? Is it more beneficial to rest, still go get your lift in as usual, go and just stimulate but not annihilate? So the first thing I would recommend is not getting sick, right? And we can't always help that, especially for you guys that have kids. Man, those little kids, they freaking bring home crap weekly. I've known so many clients that get sick because their kid brought something home, you know. And a lot of you guys have to go out into public with work and all of that. My immune system is probably like terrible because I only see one other person for most of every day of the week. My wife. So I would definitely, though, I would think about your immune system and trying to keep that strong first. Number one, making sure that you get plenty of rest. All the things we do for bodybuilding, they're going to help to build your immune system, like the health things we do. Making sure that your hydration is always up to snuff. I always run vitamin D year round, especially for you guys that are in like a darker environment where you don't have as much sun, or you're like me, I'm in the studio all the time. Vitamin C is a fantastic, or excuse me, vitamin D is a fantastic tool. And really, I just watched a thing with Rhonda Patrick on it, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and I've heard this said multiple times. Vitamin D is more like a steroid than it is a vitamin. I run high doses year round, and I started doing this after talking to Dr. Eric Serrano down in Ohio. He talked about it at Swiss. I run generally 20,000 units a D, and then for every 5,000 units a D, I run 100 micrograms of vitamin K2 with it. So the thing with vitamin D is that it helps you to better store calcium, which, you know, sounds good, right? But when you're taking a mega dose, like 20,000 units, there is a risk of getting calcium stones, calcium deposits. We don't want that. But you can keep that calcium level in check with vitamin K2. So you want to have that K2 in there to keep that balance. That's absolutely critical. Now, when I'm getting ready to go to an expo, so the Arnold's coming up, by the way, I hope to see you guys there. If you're going to the Arnold, comment in the stream. I want to know. And I look forward to meeting you. We're going to have some fun there. And I might be doing a Mutant on a Mission with Ron. We'll see. I'm going to see if I can get into that. He asked me about one of my friend's gyms down there. Anyway, back to the point though, I'll ramp my vitamin D up to 30,000 units for about the last 2-3 weeks going into the Arnold. And then I'll continue doing that for the next couple of weeks after, and then go back down to 20. There are times that I will take breaks and go back down to 5,000 or 10,000, but generally I keep it at 20,000, even 30,000 year round for the most part. And vitamin D is a huge builder for your immune system. There's information to show that when with certain illnesses, vitamin D at a mega dose of like 100,000 units, like a bolus dose for a couple days, is even super beneficial. Heck, Cuba got sick when he was in Spain, and they gave him, I think it was 50,000 unit caps prescription of vitamin D. They don't do that here in the US. So anyway, my first thought is get that immune system boosted up, keep it up as high as you can. I also use this. I've got a near red light panel, and especially in the wintertime I run that. You can increase your vitamin D levels with red light, near red light, and it is beneficial for inflammation too. I definitely get a cognitive boost from using red light, so I'm sold on that. If you're interested, I have an affiliate link to Platinum LED. That's who I got my panel from, and I think they are great panels. They are expensive though, so it was a huge investment, honestly. I paid like over $1,000 for this thing. But for me, it was worth it. I'm not going to say everybody should do it though. You know what I mean? But if it seems like it would make sense for you, I would suggest get a good panel. And I do like Platinum LED. Like, I'm very happy with the product. So anyway, though, I don't mean that as a sales pitch. It genuinely is just how I feel about it. But like I said, it's not for everybody, so it's not something I talk about a lot. If you do get sick, you know, keep in mind this. Every time we train, it's a controlled breakdown of the muscle, right? So that's assuming we're at 100%. So if you're at 100% and you break the muscle down, you break your body down, and then you can come back, rebuild, and be stronger. That's the ideal situation. If you're sick, you're already at a deficit. So should you train? Honestly, man, I think it depends how sick you are. If you have a little cold, maybe you can push through it, but it's still probably not the time that you want to be the most aggressive you ever have. Back in the day, my attitude was always like, F it, right? I'm not going to let this stop me. In fact, I'm going to get a PR today. You know, sickness does not matter. And now I realize, like, hey, maybe I should have a little bit more compassion for my body. And that's what I tell my clients that I work with too. If they get sick, I tell them have compassion. You know, if they get a fever, if it's bad, then I tell them, you know, take some time off the gym, relax. And then also too, the other thing I'll say is focus on your hydration. No matter what we do, when we get sick, we get dehydrated. It happens every freaking time. I don't care how much water you drink. I don't care how many electrolytes you use. And once we get dehydrated, it takes time to build that back up. Have you ever gotten sick and then, you know, now you're feeling better afterward, but you feel like a little bit dizzy and lightheaded every time you stand up? That's hydration. You go in the gym and you feel weaker. It's the reason you feel weaker is literally related to hydration. And, you know, we can battle that by making sure that you get electrolytes in, making sure that you're getting plenty of sodium with your meals, making sure that you stay up on your water. I would even drink a little bit more. You know, if you generally drink a gallon of water, well, maybe you add an extra liter into that while you're sick. And just in general, stress-wise, you know, people tell me I drink a gallon every day. That's freaking great, right? Gallon a day is really good, but that doesn't mean that that's what you need year round. You know, summertime, let's say you work outside, you'll need way more than that. But even if you don't, you know, you generally, it's hotter, you will sweat more in the summer. So keep that in mind. You may need more water, and it may take time for you to bounce back after you've gotten sick. When drawing up a second compound to the syringe, do you add air into the second vial like the first vial, or just draw out the oil? Honestly, I don't really add air to vials unless there's a lot of pressure built up, and then I'll use a pin to vent it. But I generally don't do that. I just draw the oil. So that'd be my thought on that. What else do we have here? Give me just a minute, guys. Mass is a MENT builder. We covered that one. I think I had a few more here. Okay, Real Report, if he's still with us. He says, I really want sons one day. Not just kids, not daughters. He wants sons. If I hop on a cycle, will I be able to have kids, especially sons? So I know that people say you're more likely to have girls if you're a steroid user. And there is some anecdotal evidence to support that. But I could also introduce you to people who've had boys too. So I think that is, I don't know if there's, I'd love to see a study, you know, on steroid using bodybuilders. What's their offspring, boy or girls? And I don't know, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. What else do we have here? I wish I could get into talking about drug addiction today. Probably just not the right time. That's a whole topic for itself. I will tell you guys, though, that I celebrated 17 years clean. That was back at the end of November, right after Thanksgiving. Man, I'm freaking grateful for it. I couldn't be here if it wasn't for me being clean. Honestly, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. I wouldn't even be able to follow through with bodybuilding. I tried to white knuckle it and be like, I'm not using drugs anymore. I'm just going to do bodybuilding. And it didn't work. I needed a change of my life. I needed to be able to find like some balance is really what it came down to. It allows me to do everything I do in life. So there's that. Cover the favorite vacation spot. I think we got these and did the SLU update at the beginning. Man, I can't believe that we have so many people here on the freaking stream. Do I smoke weed? No, I don't use any recreational drugs that are mind or mood altering. That's just my take. You know, I feel like for me, it's a no-go. You know, I've done plenty of that stuff in my day, and I have what I would call an allergic reaction. That one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So believe me, I can get addicted enough to everything else I do. I don't need recreational drugs on top of that. Thanks. I appreciate it, Kenny. Now let's see. What's up, Jake? You're still with us, man. Jake's been with us through this whole thing, dude. I appreciate you, man. And let's see. Had to jump off, but was curious if you talked about joint and shoulder pain. I didn't on this one. That would be a great topic for the next one. We got some people that are going to be coming out to the Arnold. Let's see. All right. Good dose for Tren E for tolerance? I would say 100. It's pretty low, right? 100? Could you guys get benefits from 100 Tren E? I think so, right? So that would be the lowest I think you could probably go with it and get decent effects, you know, or I shouldn't even say decent, I should say some effect. So yeah, maybe 100. That'd be like a very low end minimal type thing. What else do we have here? Tina, she says Tina will be there and she is doing the Angel Competition Bikini Fashion Show. Heck yeah, Tina. Best of luck with that, and I look forward to seeing you there. Man, Tina gets into incredible shape. You know, she's a little bit older, right? But she doesn't let her stop her. She got into bodybuilding later in life. I think she used to do running, and she made a post about how, you know, she lost her husband, got really into fitness, and she's doing so much with her physique. I love freaking seeing that out of people. She's definitely a great lady with a lot of positive energy, and it's been cool to see her around. I've seen her at Swiss. I've seen her at the Arnold. I can't remember if I saw her at the Olympia, but I've seen her around a bunch of places, and I freaking love that. I get a B12 shot from my doctor. I feel great. Hey, Jason, I'm going to tell you, man, you can get B12 through research places. I can't talk about those places here, but I can on other platforms. So I promote them on other platforms. If you go to those other platforms, you may see my promotions. That said, you can get B12, which is just a vitamin. You can get that over the counter. I would prefer to do that because then you can administer it however often you want. You know, B12 is something that you're generally supposed to take every day. The benefit of the injectable is that over time, we can lower our ability to absorb it through our digestion can go down as we age. Some people are better at it than others. It also depends on the form of B. You know, like the methyl version is much more digestible. So if you get a good quality oral, you can still make good benefit from it. That said, most of them that you're going to get from like just the grocery store, they're just the actual basic junk stuff. The injectable, it goes straight into your bloodstream, right? Now, 1,000, I've seen studies, 1,000 injectable B12 is equivalent to 5,000 sublingual. So keep that in mind, man. You could also use the sublingual. Remember that it's a daily administration of how you're taking it. So I personally, I would get the B12 myself and do my own shots of it versus, you know, relying on going to my doctor and then paying per shot versus just buying a bottle of it. How do you feel about year-long cycles for newbies starting at 250, 300 and titrating up every 6 to 8 weeks? Or would the best results be with test 600 in a shorter cycle? So, all right, let me hit it like this. If he's a complete newbie, I'm guessing that he comes off. If he comes off, then the cycle, you only know how good the cycle was after you figured out how well you've recovered. So I don't care if you gained 20 pounds of muscle on a cycle and then you come off and it takes you forever to recover and you lose most of it and you feel like crap, you know? So a big part of how good the cycle was is how well did you recover and bounce back and then keep the gains. If this guy is coming off completely, a long cycle is, the longer the cycle, the harder it is going to be to recover. I would rather get in, get it done, come off. Generally with guys that are natural, that come off between cycles and recover their natural production, we usually do 8 to 10 week cycles, 10 weeks max, maybe a little bit longer if things are continuing to go well. But I would rather go on and then off, on and then off, recover, recover, recover in between. That'd be my thought with it, at least. All right. Thank you for all that you do. What are other platforms so that we can join there and have the conversations that we can't have on YouTube? You can go over to my social media. You can check out Instagram. I post over there. and I try to get up, reels and stuff from the shows. And, you can check out my link tree there. I've got, links to all sorts of supporters of the show. And we have a group over at Facebook too, which it's not huge, but we've got like 2,000 members, and they're all really good, positive people. I don't really go to Facebook otherwise, but it's a good place to have that group where we can post questions and talk about the shows. So I check that out. Juan, what's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat. Says, thank you for the knowledge in every podcast, Scott. I spend you a big hug from Argentina. What's up, brother? I want to go to Argentina. I have actually a fantasy. Victoria and I want to both go to Argentina. I love history too, and I love World War II history. And so you guys have some crazy World War II history that I'd like to see. Plus, the country is absolutely freaking beautiful down there. I've watched so many travel shows about Argentina. I'm not going to lie, man. I really want to visit. It'd be freaking cool. So thank you, man. I appreciate the super chat, brother. And I appreciate you. All right, listen. I got to record another thing here coming up. So we do have some guests planned. I can't say who they are in case they bail on us. It would make them look bad. But thanks, Eric Bassett. Appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate all you guys being here. I'm going to record another podcast today. You guys won't see it until it comes out, but it's going to be about concealed carry. So a lot of you guys, I took a poll, and a bunch of our listeners are interested in this topic. So it's going to be completely different than anything we do, and it's just going to be some fun. How can I get a hold of you or Dave on Instagram? You can follow me. I'm at Scott McNally 1 on Instagram. And over at Facebook for the group, you can go there. It's just Think Big Bodybuilding Media. It's a private group. You have to answer some questions to enter. I try to keep the riffraff out, just people who actually follow the show. And of course, if anybody interested in dieting, you can hit me up, McNallyDiets@gmail.com. I'm always taking new clients. And yes, I still am coaching. I get people who ask, are you just doing the podcast nowadays, or do you still coach? So I still coach. And I got to say, man, we've got 138 people. We had like 170 people in the stream at its highest. This couldn't have gone better in my mind. I freaking appreciate all you guys. Like I really do, from the bottom of my heart. Doing this stuff, all the podcasts, get to hang out with all the people I do and share all these ideas. This is my life's passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my thing. And I want to thank you, each and every one of you who are here right now. I want to thank you for being part of it, and thank you for helping me to live my dream. Thank you. See you guys in the next show.